French Prime Minister Michel Barnier has just announced he's triggering Article 49.3 of the French Constitution to push the 2025 budget through Parliament. The move to force that bill through without a vote has opposition parties up in arms. France Unbowed says it will be lodging a motion of no confidence. And in the last few minutes, we've had the far-right National Rally Party, which says it will vote no confidence in this current government. Take a listen to what Michel Barnier had to say earlier.
You hear, I know, in your constituencies, French people who want and expect stability and a clear picture for their businesses and daily life. Particularly at a time when, and I know what I'm talking about, our country has to defend its interests in Europe and across the world. This is why, on the basis of Article 49.3, I have decided to commit my government to pushing through legislation for the social security budget for 2025.
We can now go across to Clovis Casali standing by at the National Assembly. Clovis, how is Michel Barnier justifying this move?
Well, the French Prime Minister is describing this as a moment of truth. He says he is acting responsibly and calling all of the MPs here at the National Assembly to do the same. He says he tried to make compromise. He tried to dialogue, to try to listen to other views, and he did take into account some of the views of the French far right, notably on the reimbursement of medicine and on other points of the budget of the social security for 2025. He also said that we were witnessing here in France a situation where some politicians are looking at defending their personal interests, their individual interests, and not the interest of the nation. And that's why he called the MPs to support him in this vote of no confidence. An important move indeed from the French Prime Minister. So what next? Well, the left wing, the New Popular Front bloc, already saying it will file a motion of no confidence. It has 24 hours to do so, and then there will be a much awaited vote set presumably for Wednesday, and then we will know if the French government is toppled or not.
I'd like to bring in our French politics editor, Clovis, Mark Perlman. Mark, good to see you. Now, in the last few minutes, we have had the far-right Marine Le Pen's party in a post on X to suggesting that they too will back this vote of no confidence against the government. So then what happens? France is set to be on a path of uncertainty for weeks to come, potentially?
Absolutely. If the National Rally does on Wednesday what it just said a few minutes ago, meaning joining the motion of no confidence, Michel Barnier is finished as Prime Minister, because if you add the votes from the leftist coalition and the National Rally, it's enough to pass a motion of no confidence. This means the Prime Minister is out, because when you use Article 49.3, you can push a bill without a vote. However, the counterpart to this is that you have to allow a motion of no confidence. So this could mean, indeed, that Michel Barnier only has 48 hours as Prime Minister, and then he's out of a government, and then the buck goes back to the President, Emmanuel Macron, who will have to decide who to reappoint, Michel Barnier, a technocratic prime minister, someone from another party with the same political equation, the same unsolvable political equation, whereby you have three blocs in parliament that are not able to ally themselves. And so as a result, you don't have a majority, you only have minorities. And this is why we are seeing Michel Barnier, despite making concessions after concession, including one this very morning to the National Rally, be forced to use Article 49.3 with all the risks of being toppled. That being said, what the National Rally just said a few minutes ago doesn't mean this is what they will do on Wednesday, because Michel Barnier had a call with Marine Le Pen. He made a concession this morning. She wants another concession, especially on the adjustment of pensions to the inflation, meaning rising the level of pensions by January 1st. The government said, no, we have to wait until July 1st so we can improve our financial situation. Michel Barnier could still decide that, well, maybe it's worth making this concession. And as a result, the National Rally could not vote this motion of no confidence. So what they're saying today is not set in stone. There's still a lot of uncertainty, but clearly he's in a very, very dire and weak position as we speak.
He clearly has his back to the wall, Clovis, given that the opposition has, of course, jumped on this move by the Prime Minister to use the Article 49.3 of the French Constitution to prove that this government has got to go.
I can tell you the atmosphere here at the National Assembly is very unusual. A lot of tensions, a lot of animosity in the air. You can feel with the opposition groups coming to talk to journalists. I can tell you there are dozens and dozens of journalists here trying to grab interviews. And we heard from the socialist Olivier Faure, for instance, who's the boss of the Socialist Party, saying that Michel Barnier never opened the door for negotiations. And what the socialists and the left wing are trying to do is save the French people from austerity and try to get measures that won't diminish the purchasing power of the French people. And then France Unbowed, the movement of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the radical left or far left party here in France, extremely hard the French government, but also President Macron, with France Unbowed actually saying that President Macron is the person who caused the chaos. It's not the motion of no confidence that's creating chaos for France, but the chaos was already here due to the snap elections, due to President Macron's decision to call early elections months ago. And they say that the French president needs to resign to bring clarity, that he is to blame for this situation. The left-wing bloc, of course, will be backing this vote of no confidence. The French far right now, all eyes on Marine Le Pen, and in a few minutes she'll come to talk to us here at the National Assembly. That's what her entourage has told us, sending us a text message. And I can tell you there will be a lot of cameras there to see exactly what Marine Le Pen tells us, because once again, the French far right has the fate of the government in its hands.
Indeed, the ball clearly is in Marine Le Pen's court, Clovis. Let's bring in Mark Perlman once again. Now, Mark, earlier when the Prime Minister was speaking, he said for his part, he's calling on all actors to live up to their responsibilities. Some of the actors we don't really often talk about now, as you mentioned, the Socialist Party, the centrist party of Emmanuel Macron itself. What do they want to see happen here? Because they're clearly not happy with this budget either.
Well, the socialists are clearly siding with the leftist alliance, saying this is not a budget we can accept. And so the hope maybe for Michel Barnier to try to lure them into abstaining for the social security budget hasn't worked. They're waiting to see what will happen. But the problem for Michel Barnier is not only that he has enemies on the left and on the far right, is that his friends inside the coalition are not that friendly to him. They're not happy. The Macron camp is unhappy to see him raising taxes. Macron, the Macronomics, as they're called,
business, yeah.
It's about lowering taxes, not about raising them. And the conservatives are not too happy with Michel Barnier's, because they think that he's not going far enough in terms of cutting expenditure. They're also not happy to see him have pensions rise less than the inflation. And so there's a lot of unhappiness. So this is why he's in such a fragile position. The problem, again, I remind our viewers, there were snap elections called by Emmanuel Macron. Indeed, back in July, according to the French Constitution, there cannot be new snap elections until next July. This sounds like very far away. We're in early December. So if Michel Barnier is pushed out, Emmanuel Macron will have again a big problem on his hands. It took him weeks to appoint Michel Barnier as prime minister after those unsuccessful snap elections, at least for him. And he now needs to find a plan B. It could be Michel Barnier again. It could be someone else, a technocratic government. But clearly, they will still face the same political equation in parliament. And unless they can build a new kind of grand coalition like we've seen in other countries, it seems that they will be walking on very, very thin ice.